A woman, accused of something unusual, something paranormal, accused of harming girls, accused of speaking with anything not of the physical world, accused of telling stories, strange stories, speaking words that couldn't be understood. This is a story from Salem about a woman who spoke with the spirits, speaking to the things that come at night, things who told her what to do. In this witchcraft documentary, you will witness a trial of a woman, Tituba, who was standing in the middle of people, watching her from every side, her eyes moving quickly and carefully on every face that's not looking away. She was looking at things that she didn't brought with her, because every place has its own things. The room had filled long before the questioning began, yet no one seemed willing to step back. Salem village had seen gatherings before, but this one held people in place, as if leaving too early might draw attention. At the centre stood Tituba, her hands brought together in front of her. Her posture was steady, but watched from every side. Samuel Paris stood near the front, his shoulders square, his gaze fixed on her without shifting. He had already heard the accusations, already seen how quickly the girl's words had turned into certainty for others. Now he waited for something more. A man near the doorway leaned slightly toward another and said, "If she says nothing, they will not stop." The other man kept his eyes forward. "They won't stop either way," he replied. From the far side of the room, a voice rose. "Ask her." Another followed, sharper. "Make her answer." Paris stepped forward just enough to be heard. "You have been named," he said. "You understand why you are here." Tituba did not answer immediately. Her eyes moved across the room, not quickly, but carefully, pausing on faces that did not look away. "Did you harm these girls?" Paris asked. "No," she said. The word landed, then disappeared under the weight of expectation. A woman near the front shook her head slightly. "They always say no," she murmured. Someone behind her added, "Until they are made to say more." Paris continued, "Did you speak with anything not of this world?" "No." The answers remained short, controlled, but the room did not accept them. The silence that followed each response did not feel like patience. It felt like pressure building without release. From one corner, a voice broke in. "She tells stories, strange ones." Another voice followed quickly. "I've heard her speaking words I don't understand." The attention returned to Tituba, not with curiosity, but with expectation. Paris took another step closer. "You will answer clearly," he said. Tituba met his gaze. "I have answered," she replied, but the room had already moved past the answers it was given. Before her name carried this kind of weight, Tituba moved through the Paris household without drawing attention in the way she did now. Her work filled the hours, her presence steady, her voice used mostly when spoken to. She belonged to the household, but not in the same way as those who lived under its authority. Betty Paris, a young girl with a quiet manner and a habit of watching the fire longer than needed, often sat near her in the evenings. The room would dim as the light faded, the fire casting uneven shadows along the walls. "Tell me another one," Betty would say, her voice softer than usual. Tituba would pause before answering. "You should not hear too many stories like these," she said once. Betty shook her head. "I won't be afraid." Across the room, Abigail Williams watched from a distance. Slightly older, her posture more direct, her gaze fixed longer than most. "What kind of story?" Abigail asked. Tituba glanced toward her briefly. The kind that stays with you, she replied. Betty leaned forward. Then tell it. The stories were not always understood the same way. Some spoke of places far from Salem, others of voices that came when no one else was near, or figures that moved without being seen directly. Betty listened with curiosity, her attention fixed. Abigail listened differently, her eyes narrowing slightly, as if weighing each word rather than simply hearing it. One evening, Abigail spoke again. Do those things come here too? Tituba looked at her for a moment. Every place has its own things, she said. Abigail held her gaze. So they could be here. Tituba did not answer that time. The fire crackled softly. No one spoke for a while, but the question remained, not resolved, not dismissed. The first moment came without warning. Betty stood near the table, her hand resting lightly against its edge. Her fingers moved slightly, then stopped. For a brief second, everything appeared unchanged. Then her hand tightened, her fingers curling inward sharply, as if pulled by something unseen. Betty, a voice called. She did not respond. Her body stiffened, her shoulders locking in place before she dropped suddenly to the floor. The sound drew immediate attention. Abigail rushed forward, stopping just short of touching her. Betty, what are you doing? She said. Betty's body began to shake in quick, uneven bursts, her arms pulling inward, her movements difficult to follow. Someone else entered the room and stopped at the doorway. What happened? They asked. I don't know, Abigail replied. Betty's eyes opened wide, but they did not settle on anything. They moved from one corner of the room to another, stopping briefly, then shifting again. She's here, Betty whispered. Abigail leaned closer. Who? Betty's lips moved again. She's standing there. Her finger pointed toward an empty space. No one stood there. A woman near the doorway stepped back slightly. This is not right, she said. Another voice followed quickly. Get the minister. Footsteps moved across the floor. When Samuel Parris entered, he did not rush. He stopped just inside the room, taking in the scene before stepping closer. Speak clearly, he said. What is happening to you? Betty's body jerked again, her fingers tightening further, before loosening slightly, then tightening again. Abigail turned toward Parris. She says someone is here, she said. Parris looked around the room, his eyes scanning each corner. He did not speak immediately. The silence stretched. It did not stop with Betty. A few days later, another girl from the village showed the same signs. Her body stiffened without warning, her hands curling inward in the same unnatural motion. When she fell, her movements mirrored Betty's almost exactly. A man standing outside the house turned to another and said, "This is spreading." The other man shook his head slowly. Then it's not just sickness. Inside, Abigail stood near the wall, her arms crossed tightly. You saw it too, she said quietly. The girl nodded. She was there, she said. Where? Abigail asked. The girl pointed toward the same empty space. The room filled again. Voices overlapped, questions forming faster than answers. What is happening to them? Someone asked. Is it catching? Another voice followed. You can't catch something you can't see. A third replied. Samuel Parris spoke over them. Bring the doctor. When the doctor arrived, he examined the girls carefully. He moved slowly, observing before speaking. After some time, he stepped back. Well, Parris asked. I do not see a natural cause, the doctor said. The room grew quiet. Then after a pause, he added, It may not be of the body. No one asked Tom to explain further. The direction changed quickly after that. The girls were brought forward again. Their voices, once uncertain, now carried more weight. "Tell us," Samuel Parris said. "Who is doing this?" Abigail looked at Betty, then back at the room. "She made us do things," Abigail said. "Who?" someone asked. Abigail did not answer immediately. She let the silence stretch. Then she spoke. "Tituba," a woman near the back said quietly. "I knew it!" Another voice followed. "She's always been different." A man near the door crossed his arms. "Then we ask her directly." From that moment, the questions no longer searched. They moved toward confirmation. The questioning returned to Tituba, this time with more voices, more pressure, more expectation. "Did you do this?" someone asked. "No," she replied. "Did you speak to spirits?" "No." The questions came faster, repeated, reshaped, pressed from different directions. A voice from the crowd said, "She refuses to admit it." Another replied, "Then make her." Samuel Parris stepped closer. "You understand what is being said about you," he said. "You understand what this means." Tituba looked at him. "I understand what you are asking," she said. Parris's voice lowered slightly. "Then answer in a way that brings truth." The room waited. At one point, Tituba lowered her gaze briefly, then looked up again. "What do you want me to say?" she asked. No one told her to stop. She spoke again, slower this time. "There are others," she said. The shift was immediate. "Who?" someone asked. "They come at night," she continued. "They tell me to do things." "Who are they?" Parris asked. Tituba named names. A woman near the wall said, "I knew it wasn't just one." Another voice followed. "It never is." The confession did not end the questions. It gave them direction. Once the confession was spoken, it did not stay contained. More names were brought forward. More people were questioned. Some denied everything. Others spoke carefully, choosing words that would not turn against them. A man standing outside said, "If they name you, what do you do?" The other man answered, "You hope they forget." "They don't forget anymore," the first replied. Inside, the trials continued. Salem Witch Trials had begun to take shape, not as a single moment, but as something that repeated itself again and again. A woman watching one of the proceedings whispered, "It started with her." The reply came quietly, "No, it started when they believed her."